We're inside Boone Pickens Stadium. Well, actually inside of the Oklahoma State Cowboy Radio Network radio booth. Thank you, John, for allowing the enemy inside the booth so we can knock this out here this afternoon. But I've said this the entire week. By the way, like and subscribe. I guess I should get that out of the way here quickly. As we said last week, my little daughter will not be able to afford to go to school if you guys do not click the subscribe button. For crying out loud, let's get this done. I've said the entire week, I don't know what we're walking into tonight. And everyone that I've talked to has essentially said the same thing. And they've asked me, what's Friday look like? Man, I don't know. And it might be the biggest I don't know game that I've at least been a part of in maybe 2 or 3 years.
I'm right there with you. I wish I had a better feel on this. Now, some of this, Pop, is just the ever-changing nature of college athletics, because guys you've known for 2 to 3 years, that you know how they're normally going to perform, I mean, you just don't have that.
Yeah.
And then you add the element of the uncertainty with both quarterbacks. And I think as much as anything else, yes, they get the lion's share of the praise when it goes well and too much of the blame when it goes wrong. But there's a reason for that.
Yes.
And I think all of the other things around that are interesting, but there's no way to know. There's no way to know whether Devin Robinson is going to come up and make a couple of plays.
Yeah.
There's no way to know whether the Cowboys secondary is going to continue to frustrate Tulsa when they take shots down the field. You think some of these things have to change, but you tell me what's going to change tonight.
I wish I knew, because I really don't. Here's what we do know, that as of 4 o'clock Eastern time, Pete Thamel sent out a tweet that said that Baylor Hayes was going to be the starter tonight for Tulsa. So there's a little bit of news tonight on that front. They were going to wait the entire week with Kirk to find out if he was going to be healthy enough to be able to contribute here tonight. And one thing led to another, and they decided that the best decision for them now moving at least into this week is to stick with Baylor. So from that perspective, I'm not quite sure even how the dynamic changes with that, because they have experience with Baylor running the offense. What do we know about Tulsa? The running game has worked incredibly well. The offensive line has been much improved. One of the big question marks from the season, it has been, I don't want to say one of the best units on the field, but you'd have to at least put it in that category. They've got one spot that they feel like is maybe still kind of up in the air where they're going to move some people in and around. But other than that, I think the identity looks pretty similar to what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to just tell our engineer, Britt Lockhart, that if he needs to move stuff around and it may need to make a lot of noise.
Yeah, this is ambiance.
You make a lot of noise, Britt. This is your time.
This is why we got the environment here, so everyone can see us. This is a working environment.
Exactly. There are no enemies. There are no enemies. You mentioned the offensive line. I've always found it interesting that at the beginning of camp, and for a long time, what was Trey Lamb's biggest concern? It was the offensive line, at least what he would say, and then it's turned into a bit of a strength. I think the Cowboys are still kind of searching for some continuity there. You've had some injuries. Markel Samuel, left tackle, didn't play at Oregon. So you've done some shifting around there, and guys trying to get to know each other and get on the same page. And I think that's been as big a factor in contributing to the running game woes as anything else for OSU. That and the fact they've got 5 backs.
Yes.
And they run almost all of them. And it just depends on the situation as to which guy's style may fit better. I think you're going to see more Rodney Fields tonight.
So was the ultimate hope with that to eventually have one guy take over and take control of the position, or did they have the mindset throughout the course of this season that this was going to be a by committee? Because 5, even by a committee standpoint, it is a ton. I don't know if I've known a committee of 5 to get the job done.
Yeah, I think they want somebody, maybe 1 or 2, to elevate to where they can take over. It just hasn't happened yet. But again, your sample size is game 1 against a defense that sold out to the run in the second half especially, and then game 2, which again with Oregon you just kind of throw that out because you weren't going to try to run a whole lot once you fell behind by the margin that you did. I think in terms of what's been good, again, take Oregon out of the way. but linebacker play has been pretty solid. You've got good leadership from Brian McCoy, and you had Wendell Gregory with the 3 sacks in the first game. You've got some talent there, guys who are trying to prove they belong at this level, which is not unlike what's going on in Tulsa.
No, it's really not. You mentioned linebacker play. If you go and you look on the leaders in tackles in the country, Ray Coney is top, and 0 is all over the field. I'm happy that you guys get an opportunity to just watch him tonight from the elevated perch that you have. He's been, if not the best player, one of the best players on Tulsa's defense by far. Their defensive line has played really well. I've been very impressed with TU's D-line, which is why the matchup now with the offensive line of Oklahoma State, kind of battling through some injuries, I think it's one of those cases, like you said, we just don't know a whole lot yet based off of opponents. But Tulsa's D-line has been relatively good, and they're deep. I think they're probably as deep as what I can remember them being, even maybe back to like 16 or 17 with Philip Montgomery's team. So improve there. Where they've got to be able to get something done tonight is obviously the way that New Mexico State attacked them in the passing game. But I know that's been kind of an Achilles heel for Oklahoma State so far through the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, sure has. You might have seen Pete, our good friend, who delivers the food up here behind us, and he's kind of looking in. And we didn't warn Pete. So Pete, you can just put the food down next to Pop and me whenever you want.
And you guys, wait a minute, you guys have someone that hand delivers food?
Well, listen, I don't know what we did to deserve this, but Pete's been awesome now for years, and he deserves. I would ask him for a prediction, but I know he'd probably rather stay silent.
So not only are you the unofficial mayor of Tulsa, you've become the unofficial mayor of BTS because you have someone that's hand delivering you food.
He doesn't do this for me. He does it for Dave.
Okay, all right, that's
and
fair.
for Robert. He gets it up here early enough, so if Robert wants to eat, he can do it too.
Hey, a fella can get used to this. It's just dropped off an entire plate of food right now.
I mean, that's I'd love to be really cool and say that's the way we roll up here, but we're just beneficiaries of all the kindness that can be.
Hey, I'm just saying, sometimes in the American, you don't know what you're going to get. We'll go on the road and someone will just dump a bag of Taco Bell tacos out on the table and say, "Have at it, boys."
Yeah, well, it's been consistent now for a long time. And Pete's been the catalyst.
Pete's awesome.
Yeah. But in terms of tonight's game, can OSU run the ball? Can they keep Tulsa from finally connecting on some strikes down the field when they have the ball? And special teams a wash tonight. I mean, that's you just don't know. You've had the 80-yard punt. Yeah, however long it was. It was 80.
Yeah, it was like 80 or 82.
82.
Yeah.
OSU's kind of been. They've got an experienced kicker in Logan Ward, but do they, what do they do? Does Sam Jackson V get a chance to return a punt? I think that's one thing, or a kickoff for that matter. That's one thing that I think we've been looking for because he's a weapon, We just haven't seen it yet.
You just brought up special teams, and it just hit me. This type of environment here, Friday night, kind of, hey, let's see what we got. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Coach Lamb attempt something.
Oh, I fully expect that. I expect it more from his side than I do from Oklahoma State's side. Not that I don't think they might try to show something. Like maybe they borrow that flea flicker screenplay that Oregon ran on them or something like that.
Right.
Because it's like television or digital. There's very few original ideas anymore. You borrow it from everybody else. But yeah, I fully expect that. And the other thing that I like about this is it's a blackout game here. Tulsa's wearing all white. So the good part is we shouldn't have any gray areas except for when it comes to reviews, when we will all guess and we'll all get it wrong.
Well, it's almost a guarantee. I don't know if you guys have little games on the crew or not that you play off the air with who gets it right and who gets it wrong. But I can tell you this: the Tulsa crew is wrong about 97.8% of the time if we're playing the percentages.
Yeah, well, and we do that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. By the way, funny story on the 80-plus yard punt. Bruce had mentioned to Coach Lamb in the press conference that's like the second or third longest punt in Tulsa history, and Trey kind of looked and was like, "Only the second?" He's like, "I don't know how many. Like, who hit the first one?" And Bruce said, "Well, Glenn Dobbs." And Trey goes, "Okay, he was pretty good. He was pretty good." So yeah, he's a big historian. Anything in terms of what you think Oklahoma State has to do tonight if we're going to go the generic route of keys on a podcast?
I think they've got to slow Tulsa's running game. I think that's the first thing, because that is the ultimate pressure release for an offense, especially with Baylor Hayes running. And that means stopping Baylor Hayes from being successful with his legs, too.
Yeah.
I think you really got to force him to have to make decisions in the passing game. And I think they've really got to be ready for the fury with which I think Dom Richardson's going to run the ball, just because of his history.
Yeah, from the Tulsa perspective, it felt like 3 or 4 years they would get off to terrible starts. Sometimes they'd wake up midway through the second quarter. Sometimes it seemed like it'd be after halftime. That hasn't happened so far this year. They've had really good starts. They've got to have one here tonight, because I think the more that you kind of hang around, apply a little pressure here, I think the environment is one that kind of presents itself as a little bit of nervous energy in the first place,
Yes.
if that's fair.
Yes.
And if you're able to kind of keep that pressure on, and then you just kind of roll the dice and see, does the collar tighten up a little bit? Does it get tight here?
Yeah. You asked me what I expect. I expect this could be a very close game in the fourth quarter.
I'm with you for sure. John, have a good call. I know you got to go do radio. I got to wait a little while before I get to do radio, so I'm going to dive into this delicious plate of food that was hand delivered by Pete. Everyone that's watching, please like and subscribe these videos. What do I got to do? Beg? I got to beg you to please hit the subscribe button. Don't make John beg. I mean, he's much more of a professional than I am. I'm not afraid to do it, but I will if I have to.
That's all.
Yeah, hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you next time, and we will be with you, news9.com, news on 6.com as soon as this bad boy's over. Oh, and that little thing called TV as well. We got you covered every